Boy Meets World tonight at 7:30 on ATV.
Okay, mister. Drop my son's underwear.
So take it from me, baby. Here's what I'm telling you. If you find someone to love you, don't ever be a fool. Ain't no denying.
Cape Breton's most famous songbird is home for a big party, and we've got Rita in exclusive tonight, live at 5.
From the ATV News Center at every city and town in the Maritimes. This is the ATV Evening News, live at 5.
Good evening and welcome to Live at 5 for Friday, the 22nd of July. I'm Nancy Regan.
And I'm Paul Mennier. Here's a look at some of the stories ATV reporters around our region are working on for tonight's show.
I'm Laverne Stewart here in Fredericton, where the New Brunswick Highland Games are going on this weekend. Join me later for more.
I'm Alan Johnson at the Ships Company Theater in Parsboro, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary season. I'll tell you about it coming up on Live at 5.
And also ahead tonight, Bill Jessam takes us to Hollywood to talk to a maritimer who's made it big there. An exclusive interview with Daniel Petrie later.
Situated here, the guy who was working the excavator.
Another exciting fossil find in the Maritimes. We'll dig up the details tonight.
Doesn't look right. There's something odd about that. Only through.
And Paul's been digging all week to bring us the best and worst from the world of sports. Let the plays of the week light up your life later.
That's what we'll try on the Friday edition of Live at 5. First, let's check in with Jonathan Gravener, working on the ATV Evening News at 6. Jonathan?
Well, Paul, tonight O.J. enters a plea on murder charges.
You ready to enter a plea at this time? Yes.
Counsel join. It is without a doubt one of the most talked about criminal cases in recent history. Today, O.J. Simpson was arraigned and entered a plea on charges that he stabbed to death his ex-wife and her friend. Complete coverage live tonight at 6 o'clock. Also tonight, people living in suburban St. John are worried about the prospect of losing 24-hour emergency ambulance service. Now, the province is trying to make it more efficient. Residents, though, say you can't find an emergency during certain hours. That story also at 6. Well, the lack of rain has created a potentially explosive situation in some maritime forests. While some areas are getting some rain, others are tinder dry, and a spark could set off a huge forest fire. That story later. It's now time to check in for our first fast look at weather with meteorologist Steve Weigel. Steve.
Thanks very much, Jonathan. A severe thunderstorm watch continues for most of New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island until 8 p.m. tonight. Tomorrow we'll see the fog burn off and then hazy sunshine for the rest of the day. I'll give you all the details coming up later in the show. Jonathan.
Well, you saw the movie Free Willy. It's kind of like that. Tonight, more on the fate of that potted well that nearly beached itself near Lunenburg.
No.
As we told you, the potted well caused quite a stir in the community when it came dangerously close to shore. Find out how it might have fared later tonight at 6 o'clock, coming up in about 56 minutes from now. But now first back to Live at 5 with Paul and Nancy. Guys?
Thank you, Jonathan.
And we're putting festival fun first at 5 tonight. We're going to start off in Cape Breton, where Rita McNeil is home and on stage tonight where it all began in Big Pond, starting off a feel-good Friday for us tonight.
Tonight's performance is the highlight of the week-long Big Pond Festival. This afternoon, Rita kindly allowed our Live at 5 crew an exclusive peek at her rehearsal.
She also took the time to speak to ATV's Randy McDonald, who's just returned from Big Pond and joins us live from Sydney. Randy?
Paul, Rita looks relaxed and rested. Being home for the summer obviously also rejuvenates those creative juices, because Rita sounded great this afternoon during a concert rehearsal.
Love is where you find it. Sometimes you find it lost. You wrap your heart around it. Don't ever let it stop. And if you don't abuse it, and if you treat it right, it'll be there in the morning. It'll be here in the night.
There's people here that I've known for some time, and it's just that good hometown feeling and where my roots are, and it's always a great thrill to play here.
So I'll accept the rose tonight, the one you give with so much love.
Less nervous or more nervous with the hometown crowd?
Well, I think you're always a little more nervous. They tend to expect a little more, or maybe you expect a little more yourself, whichever way it works, but we'll do our best.
Do you still get your mail at the end of the road? With the pipes of breeze when the weather gets cold?
Well, I'm I'm fairly busy, you know. I don't seem to stop very much, and when I do, it's only to get going again, just organize and revamp, and so it's pretty steady, and I'm very fortunate.
A funny thing happened this afternoon when Rita was just heading out for a rehearsal. Now, none of her entourage had showed up at her farmhouse, so Rita, being Rita, started walking along the road. That's when a couple from BC named the Rayburns happened to drive by.
And then we went up and turned around, and she's walking down the road. So we said, would you like a ride? And she said, yes, please.
So it was just the most wonderful part of our whole trip. It's unbelievable.
We didn't get to her tea room to have tea, but we gave her a lift on the road. How about that? They wouldn't believe it, but we got pictures.
You got a hug, too?
Well, yeah. Well, we gave her a hug while we took the pictures. Yeah, she was just unbelievable.
If you find someone to love you, don't ever be a fool. Ain't no denying this heart is fire, this thing called love. Ain't no denying this heart is fire, this thing called love.
The Big Pond concert precedes another busy fall season of performing for Rita. There's a new album in the works. There's a new network television variety series going into production soon. And best of all, for Eastern Canadians, there's a big concert tour of Eastern Canada, including right here in Cape Breton and throughout the Maritimes in the weeks leading up to Christmas. Nancy?
Randy, is the concert tonight expected to be absolutely packed?
Yeah, you know, Nancy, all day they've been trying to keep people away from the sound checks and the rehearsals. You know, there have been Winnebagos and trailers and people coming to the concert venue, the McIntyre's Field in Big Pond, all day just to get a good seat there early and set up their trailers and so forth for the evening's performance. But there might still be a few seats available, so if you're in the Cape Breton area, it's out in Big Pond on route number 4. The concert begins at 8 o'clock, and it promises to be quite a show, a great night, great weather, and a great performer.
Terrific.
Nancy?
And before I let you go, I should say that I understand visitors to Big Pond will soon be able to enjoy the newly expanded Rita's Tea Room.
Yes, this is going to be a must-stop for visitors when it reopens in mid-August after a $500,000+ renovation. We had a sneak peek at it today, and you're not going to believe it. Expanding patios, big rooms. It's called a tea room, but this is a very big restaurant, and it's going to be a gallery as well for some of Rita's big record platinum things, and it's just a great place to stop and visit. Nancy?
All right, terrific. Thanks a lot, Randy.
Okay.
Say hi to Rita for us.
Will do.
Paul.
All right, Nance, and the Friday Fun continues. You know, if you're Scottish, Fredericton is the place to be this weekend. The New Brunswick Highland Games are taking place there, and ATV's Laverne Stewart's in Fredericton. Laverne, what's happening today?
Well, Paul, a lot has been happening. Last-minute practicing for dancers, pipers, and drummers who are coming in from all over the Maritimes to compete in these Highland Games.
They're as heavy as they look.
The tents are going up that will give much-needed shade to all of the clans gathering here over the weekend. Highland Games are something most Scots wouldn't miss for the world.
What's it like in the Highlands? We celebrate Highland Games here, but...
If you ever go to Scotland, go to Inverness. That's the Highlands. It's beautiful.
Do you miss
the
it?
People. Oh, yes, I miss it.
This is a chanter. It's what pipers learn their notes on. It also helps develop their lungs.
This guy came to our school, right? And he plays the bagpipes, and he let me get a blow at it, and I really enjoyed it, so I decided to start.
And after about 6 years of practice, pipers sound like this.
A lot of my aunts play the pipes, and then my brother got into drumming, and so after hearing the band play for a while, I really liked piping, so I went into that.
Big part of your family then?
Yep.
What would Highland Games be without dancing?
So what are you going to be doing here this weekend?
I'm going to be dancing on Saturday for 3 dances, and on Sunday, I'm doing my nationals.
7-year-old Mark Morton has been playing the drums since he was 2.
This is just a sample of what you'll see and hear at the New Brunswick Highland Games here in Fredericton. It all starts tonight with a band concert at the old government grounds.
5 of the bands will come in tonight for our concert, and tomorrow the remaining bands will come. We will have 14 in total for our massed bands, coming from around Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI, and Maine.
You know, Paul, organizers have been working on this for over a year. They're expecting 8,000 people to show up over the weekend. And whether you're Scottish or not, it's going to be a lot of fun. Paul?
Sounds that way, Laverne. And now, Skirt. That sounds a bit Scottish. You ever done the Highland Fling?
It is Scottish, and on my mom's side and on my dad's side, I'm Scottish. And I remember a long, long time ago, I was about 2 years old, and my mom taught dancing lessons, Highland dancing and sword dancing. And there's pictures of me doing it, but I can't really remember doing it. And my grandfather once said when I tried a long time ago, he said I looked like his livestock. So I stopped doing it after that.
What?
Yeah, I don't dance anymore, thanks to my grandfather.
Okay. All right, Laverne. Well, you have a good weekend. I don't know, maybe you want to brave that festival or not. It could be bring back bad memories.
That's right.
Have a good one.
Okay.
Laverne Stewart in Fredericton, and there's just a whole lot of other neat stuff happening in the Maritimes this weekend. And this sounds like a good one, Nance. Still in New Brunswick, up the highway a little bit. We want to take you to Woodstock for the Old Home Week happening there. It's harness racing, woodman competitions, and great entertainment, to say the least. Celebrate the wealth of the sea. Shippigan hosts the Provincial Fisheries Festival, including the Blessing of the Fleet, parades, dancing, fishing contests, and sports for all ages.
And would you believe there are those out there who love Brussels sprouts, enough to give them their own festival? Rogersville is the place to be for that. On Prince Edward Island, the Surrey Regatta goes this weekend with their celebration of the sea. And you might get a kick out of the Surrey International Soccer Classic for girls and boys.
And you can cool off watching hockey. Yes, folks, we said hockey of the ice variety. Summerside is hosting the Labatt Summer Recreational Hockey Classic, and beaches are a good thing to celebrate this time of year, wouldn't you say? In Nova Scotia, Dominion kicks off their Seaside Days this week with a giant beach party on Sunday. Food's always a good drawing card, and chowder's the taste of the town at the annual Mahone Bay Chowder Festival. Guysborough Come Home Week includes a children's parade, boat parade, street fair, sporting events, more. You might want to check that out. And we're just kind of scratching the tip of the proverbial iceberg here. So check out your neighborhood for special events, lots of them happening in the Maritimes. And going to be a nice one, too.
Don't forget, in Halifax, you've got the Jazz Festival wrapping up this weekend, and the Canadian National Square and Round Dance Championship, or Convention, is in town at the Metro Center in the
Wooden
World
boats
Trade
and
Convention Center.
as well? Oh, too much to mention here.
Too much to celebrate, you're right. Lots more to come on the Feel Good Friday edition of Live at 5, including meteorologist Steve Weigel with the complete weekend weather forecast.
But first and next, what's it like to make it big in Hollywood? We'll talk to a Maritimer who's found out firsthand.
They come unformed and unprejudiced, and so I've had great success working with kids, maybe because they don't give you any guff, you know.
An exclusive interview with Daniel Petrie when Live at 5, the Feel Good Friday edition returns.
And I told you something. Could you ever repeat it?
No. What is it you want to tell me?
Well,
The latest John Grisham novel to make it to the big screen opens in major centers tonight. It stars newcomer Brad Renfro as Mark Sway, an 11-year-old who witnesses the suicide of a lawyer with ties to the underworld. Feeling the heat, Mark turns to lawyer Reggie Love, played by Susan Sarandon. Film also features Tommy Lee Jones, and rumor has it this film will be better than The Firm or The Pelican Brief.
And that brings us to another movie starring kids. And I guess, you know, Nancy, it's not the Canadian way to blow our own horns, but what the heck, because this really is a maritime success story. We're talking about the Bay Boy, Dan Petrie, from Commercial Street to Broadway to Sunset Boulevard. We are talking talent here with a capital T.
You're right there, and he's distinguished himself by directing several outstanding movies and award-winning television specials. Now his latest film is Lassie. Bill Jessom spoke with Dan about the latest Lassie movie and what it's like to direct the superstars like Paul Newman, Jane Fonda, and the like.
One of Hollywood's more successful movie directors is Dan Petrie of Glace Bay. His movie credits include Cocoon, The Return, Fort Apache, The Bronx, A Raisin in the Sun, and Dollmaker, and of course, The Bay Boy. Danny agreed to direct Lassie because of its timely message and the bond between a boy and his dog. And Dan Petrie says Lassie is more than a child's movie.
I love you.
I think it's a family film. I think adults will enjoy it. We had test screenings, and the kids between 6 and 12, that response was the highest. Between the teens was the next highest, and the adults were a little bit below them. But there was a big level of acceptance by adult audiences.
A lot of directors and actors dislike working with children and animals because they are scene stealers. Dan Petrie is not one of them.
I like working with kids. They're putty. They come unformed and unprejudiced, and oftentimes they have just wonderful instincts, and so you can play with those. So I've had great success working with kids, maybe because they don't give you any guff, you know. Animals, that's the same. In this case, of course, I don't direct the animal. I direct the trainer, and they're great. That animal was a beauty to work with.
And are there egos on a Petrie movie set? Not very likely.
I used to have a lot of trepidation about that, but after being around as long as I've been around and having gone through it so many times, I realize now that you do get through it. No matter what happens, you get through it. If there's great temperament on the set or whatever, which I don't allow, by the way, my principle is that I don't allow any more temperament on the set than I have, and I don't have any.
Another important movie project Dan Petrie is still hoping to develop is Thomas Rydell's The Nymph and the Lamp.
I've done a screenplay of that, and John Slan, who is he's situated here now, but he has his offices in Toronto as well, Paragon Entertainment. He's been trying to get that going for a long time, and we go 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. You know, we get a commitment from Anthony Hopkins on a Monday, and on the Friday, Anthony Hopkins has changed his mind. Kevin Costner read it, likes it very, very much. He's going to take a year off, and when he comes back, he's got a big, big project that he wants to do. So, sure, we want Kevin Costner. We can take a chance that about 3 years from now, he'll be available. But
what about a sequel? How about Lassie Saves the Bay Boy?
Not for me. I don't think so.
Bill Jessam, ATV News.
Wow, very down-to-earth guy, eh?
Yeah, fascinating business. He must feel very fortunate, I'm sure, every day.
I could listen to him forever. Well, straight ahead on Live at 5, a different kind of maritime success story. We'll climb aboard the Ship's Company Theater when we return, and also ahead,
we're digging up history. We're going to check out a fascinating new fossil find later on Live at 5.
That's where he belongs.
From the first incorporated city in Canada, the first soda crackers in Canada, the first female Canadian golf champion, to the first chartered bank in Canada, and the first penny newspaper in the entire British Empire.
You're hearing just some of the firsts for which the city of St. John is known. There are literally dozens, and they are being featured in a special poster plaque, which will be displayed around the city and will also be available for purchase.
And there are also celebrations this weekend for people in our anniversary file. 50th anniversary greetings go out today to Ralph and Lorna Beach of Halifax. Love from their 3 daughters and their 6 grandchildren. And celebrating with an open house Saturday at the Delta in St. John are Kenneth and Mary Cox on the occasion of their 50th anniversary. They have 4 children and 6 grandchildren who send along love and best wishes. And if you're marking a special day in your life, congratulations from everybody here in the ATV newsroom.
Indeed. Well, you know, Parrsboro, Nova Scotia is a town recognized for its treasured rock collections, but more and more it's becoming known for its live summertime theater.
ATV's Alan Johnson takes a look tonight at the theater, which is built aboard an abandoned ship.
I mean, I've worked with most of these people, you know, for years. And the sense of creative, collaborative juice moving, you know, is really wonderful. You almost start talking in shorthand.
Michael Fuller is talking about Parrsboro's Ship's Company Theater and the fact that this is the theater's 10th anniversary. Sort of like a reunion for actors from past seasons. One of those actors is Krista Wells, who talks about this season's current production, Living Curiosities, written by Nova Scotian Mary Vingo.
The basis of the story is Anna, the swan, Anna Swan, the giantess from Tatamagouche, coming to terms with her being a giant. She grew up in Nova Scotia and left when she was 17 to join Barnum. And she arrived there feeling pretty much that she was normal. And by today's standards, of course, she is normal, but in Barnum's day, she was a freak.
Unlike giantess Anna Swan joining P.T. Barnum's American Museum back in the 1860s, the Ship Company Theatre isn't taking away from Nova Scotia, it's bringing people in. Another performance of Living Curiosities hits the stage here in just a few hours' time. Now, as you can see, the seats are empty right now, but if tonight is like most other nights this summer, this place should be almost full to capacity. That's something that pleases Parsboro merchants.
They have supper usually when they arrive in town, look at our sites and the museum, and as a shopkeeper, yes, it's a plus in our pocket.
And it appears the actors also like Parsboro's atmosphere.
They love coming to Parsboro. The town is really accepting and welcoming. They love to see the actors come. The actors have a great time.
The theater's late August production is called Young Triffy's Been Made Away With. It's directed by well-known Newfoundlander Mary Walsh.
It's sort of like Thornton Wilder's Our Town, but it's all the stuff that Wilder didn't put in. And it's, you know, there's been a murder. A young girl, Triffy, who's a poor, silly person, has been washed up in the land wash, and Billy Head finds her there with 4 stab wounds in her back.
And if you want to know more, you'll have to come see it. The second half of the Parsboro Theatre season begins August 11th. In Parsboro, Alan Johnson, ATV News.
And we wish them all the best with their season. Well, it is with a great deal of regret that we have a sad note to pass on to you tonight. Canada has lost one of its best-known and best-loved journalists. St. John native Charles Lynch died yesterday after a long fight with cancer.
As a war correspondent in France during World War II, I saw these young recruits in action.
Mr. Lynch, who always carried a harmonica, began his illustrious career at age 16 at the St. John Citizen for $7 a week. He moved from New Brunswick onto Canadian Press, then British United Press, and then Reuters, where he became a war correspondent, covering D-Day and later the Nuremberg war trials. He would become a pioneer in television news and was host of Question Period on CTV. Mr. Lynch, who was appointed an officer of the Order of Canada in 1977, continued writing newspaper articles until his death. A funeral service will be held Monday in Ottawa. And I guess, Nancy, as a measure of this man, who everybody who knows him said was always jovial and never took himself very seriously, he wrote his own obituary at the request of the Ottawa Citizen, the paper he was writing for leading up to his death. In fact, he had been writing daily articles about his suffering with cancer, and so apparently he delivered his own obituary to the paper editor just last week, and laughing all the way, apparently, and that obituary penned by Mr. Lynch will appear in your papers in the morning, I would think.
Well, I guess that's an appropriate end to such an incredibly distinguished career.
Indeed.
What a journalist. Lots more to come in the second half of Live at 5 tonight, including Steve Weagle's complete maritime weather picture.
And we also have these stories still ahead.
I'm John Waterman at the Nova Scotia Museum in Halifax, where paleontologists are excited about one of the most significant fossils ever found in the Maritimes. And I'll show you in a few minutes.
I'm Yvonne Colbert on your side. Tonight, a story about furniture reupholstery and repair. What happens if you're promised your chairs in 6 weeks, only to find out 1 year later they're still not ready? That story's coming up later tonight on Live at 5.
And also ahead, what we think is the perfect way to take you into the weekend, a dose of laughter, courtesy the plays of the week. We got them later, so stay tuned. The only way to describe the weather today is hot and humid. Temperature topped the 30-degree mark in the Miramichi today, and with hardly a breeze, the only place to get some relief was on the water. There was a late afternoon thunder shower, but it did little to cool things off, and I don't think I've seen the Miramichi look that glassy.
It's been a real mixed bag of weather, as they say. You know, there's been showers, thunder showers, bright sunny skies, and a lot of humidity.
Yep, positive note is I found the ocean water to be extremely warm for this time. I think I mentioned this yesterday. Anyway, it's fantastic out there. So great beach weather, and of course the air conditioning was broken down in the edit suite where we're doing plays of the week today.
I noticed that when I...
I'm just drenched. But anyway, Steve Weigel here to tell us about more drenchings, I guess, on the way. Maybe some thunder showers for some parts of the region, Steve?
Yeah, that's right, Paul, and that's not bad news, in fact, because it'll cool temperatures down tonight. We're still up in the high 20s and low 30s in some areas of the Maritimes, and with the thunder showers, they look like they're dissipating right now, and they'll just cool things off a bit. Right now, they're moving through New Brunswick, and they'll push into Prince Edward Island and possibly Cape Breton and northern mainland Nova Scotia during the night tonight. So you may see a thunder boomer. That'll dissipate as the sun goes down, and then we'll see the fog roll in overnight. But hazy sunshine for tomorrow. We'll start off with the jet stream first. We've got two big ridges, one on the east coast and one on the west coast. And we've got record temperatures on both coasts. Moncton and Fredericton saw record highs for July 21st yesterday, up in the low 30s. And back out west, especially through the BC interior, they saw temperatures almost up to 40 degrees. The big satellite photo shows much of the active weather across the eastern half of the continent. We have a low-pressure system still over Quebec. The warm front is north of the Maritimes, and we're in the warm sector, of course, with the cold front extending down just west of the seaboard. It's going to inch its way through to the Maritimes and almost make it into the Maritimes by Sunday night. And that means that we're going to stay in the warm air, continuing hot and humid across the region. Back out west, clear skies, right back through BC and down the coast, with the low-pressure system just starting to push its way into northern California. Right now, on the close-up, you can see those thunder showers are extending from Chatham right down through Fredericton. They'll slide through Prince Edward Island and through Cape Breton and parts of Nova Scotia during the evening. And then we'll see the fog roll in overnight. It looks pretty cloudy. And behind that, we've got, well, the cold front, and it'll inch its way in the next few days across the region. 24 hours ago, it was another hot day. And in the last 24 hours, we haven't seen much of a change. In fact, warm southerly flow of air. And just in the last few hours, those thunderstorms are starting to pop up. But they will dissipate after sunset tonight. So the forecast overnight looks like this. We will see an occasional shower, thunder shower, especially through New Brunswick. In fact, they're occurring right now. Prince Edward Island and Cape Breton and possibly northern mainland Nova Scotia. A slight chance of a shower, thunder shower through the southern regions. 17 to 19 degrees overnight, a muggy night. You'll need the fan or the air conditioner on tonight for sure. And the fog will roll in. So if you live along the coast, it'll be a foggy night. Tomorrow, start off with hazy sunshine, a few more clouds in New Brunswick, and a good chance of a shower or an afternoon thunder shower. Head to the beach, though. It's going to be a blistering day. 26 to 30 degrees in New Brunswick. Warmest temperatures inland. 28 for Prince Edward Island, and we've got 26 to 29 across Nova Scotia. And if you live along the coast, the fog will burn off in the morning, and we'll see hazy sunshine by the afternoon. And for Sunday, much the same, not much of a change at all. 28 degrees, chance of an afternoon shower, thunder shower, very hot and humid. Same for Monday, down to 27, and then slighter chance of a shower on Tuesday, 27 degrees. So it's going to be a very warm weekend, guys.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Well, you know, one of the most significant fossils ever found in the Maritimes has the scientific community abuzz. The fossil is about 325 million years old and is that of a large salamander-like creature.
Scientists believe it could be the missing link in the evolution of amphibians to reptiles. And to give you some idea of just how old this thing is, it was roaming swampy forests and river floodplains 100 million years before the dinosaurs even appeared.
That's a long time.
ATV's John Waterman has more.
People have been uncovering fossils here in Joggins since the last century. The fossils have all been significant, adding insight into life on Earth long before man.
Anybody who's never seen it.
But none of the finds has been as big as this one.
The preservation of the fossil is excellent, and it's considered by paleontologists to be by far the best vertebrate specimen ever found in the Joggins area.
He's lying on his back with the forelimbs spread out to either side. The head area is up here. We have the jaws showing we're looking at the bottom side of the head. We have neck bones, the shoulders of the animal. The limb bones are very clearly shown here and over here. We have a large area of the skin impression showing we can see the very scaly-looking skin, the small ridges between scales, and there's a whole row of ribs poking out through the sides of the skin here.
It's thought what's cast in stone today may have looked like this 325 million years ago, a time when the Maritimes were closer to the equator. Fossils of land-dwelling vertebrates from this period are extremely rare and scientifically very important.
This is a member of that key group that forms the link between the amphibians and the very earliest reptiles. So with a specimen that is so nicely preserved, we're hoping to gain a lot more information about the anatomical structure and the anatomy of the animals that were forming that linkage group, and hopefully a few more pieces in the story of reptilian evolution that much later gave rise to the mammals and birds.
Scientists are excited by this find, but people visiting the Nova Scotia Museum today say it adds to their keen interest too.
I just like fossils because it shows you about stuff that's not around anymore.
They teach me about a race that lived millions of years ago, and I can learn much more about them by going to this museum.
But this is a spectacular fossil in that it's just a single animal and it's laid out, and it'd be very easy to study. People who've never seen a fossil before can instantly recognize this as some kind of animal.
Incredible. The fossil will be on display for a few weeks at the Nova Scotia Museum, and then it will be shipped to McGill University in Montreal for further study.
And it's interesting that the erosion of the rocks around the Joggins area caused a bit of face rock on one of the cliffs to fall, and that's actually what exposed it. There was a young chap walking along the beach, and lo and behold, there was this fascinating fossil that probably wouldn't have been found had it not been for the erosion. And so that's kind of a neat story. And the guy who found it didn't want any recognition, so that's why we didn't have him in the story.
Oh, really? Actually, it's interesting to see how many kids are interested in archaeology these days. At the Discovery Center, when I was there yesterday, I saw they have little kits for children to actually excavate a fake dinosaur. Neat idea.
Well, we got some great treasure hunts around here.
Oh.
You know, spines.
In the Maritimes, you're right. Coming up on Live at 5, it's a tale of two armchairs in for some body work, and their owner is still waiting 1 year later.
Well, I hope anybody that's watching sort of learns from it. Just remember that you don't get nothing for nothing, basically. And that was basically, I had a good price, but I paid the price, too.
Yvonne Colbert has the story covered. The details next on Live at 5.
Doing a fair amount of work.
ATV videographer Sean DeLong just happened upon this busker playing some folk music in the corner of King and Carlton Streets in Fredericton this afternoon. So you can see and hear she was having a pretty good day. Time now to check in on Jonathan Gravener, who's standing in for Steve Murphy this week, the vacationing Steve Murphy. What's coming up at 6, Jonathan?
The big story tonight is O.J. Simpson, Paul. It promises to be one of the most sensational trials in recent memory. Today, O.J. was arraigned in court and entered a plea on murder charges. What did he plead? Well, we'll give you this and more information tonight at 6 o'clock. Well, people in at least one maritime suburb are upset about the prospect of losing 24-hour emergency ambulance service. The New Brunswick government is trying to make things more efficient. The story in just 20 minutes from now. And guess who's up to his old tricks again? You got it right. Pierre salutes a heckler. Meantime, his fellow Quebecers are getting ready for an election that could change the face of the country. The story at 6, but now back to more of Live at 5 with On Your Side.
Thanks, Jonathan. We're here with Yvonne Colbert, and tonight on Your Side we're talking about furniture repair and reupholstery.
That's right, Nancy. Now, in this case, it's not that the job wasn't done properly, it's that the job wasn't completed.
They're in pretty bad shape, and they got sick of looking at them, so I called this coalition people, and they came and picked them up the same day. And that was a year ago this month.
And what's happened since?
Nothing. But I know of. There's been a different excuse every other week for the last 12 months.
Robert McDonald is talking about the 2 chairs that go with this coach. He had the coach reupholstered on its own and sent his chairs to Coalition Support Services, an operation which helps ex-offenders learn new skills in a number of areas, including furniture repair and reupholstery. The Coalition is a training center and therefore offers prices that are a real bargain. But they also offered a lot of excuses as to why his chairs weren't finished in the promised 6-week time frame. What are the kinds of things that you're being told that are causing the delay?
Special stuffing from Truro, and then the special stuffing started coming out through the seams. Then everybody had the flu for a couple of weeks.
After talking to Robert today, we called to see if his chairs were ready.
His chairs are not ready today. And when might they be ready? So it takes more than a year to get 2 chairs recovered.
Well, he's telling me that it could be 2 or 3 months before they're done.
Why wouldn't he tell the consumer that when they call? Why would he give me an estimate of $125 a chair and 6 weeks, and now it's over a year. He shouldn't give estimates over the phone if that's the case. So I don't see why he didn't have a look at them when they showed up there, and then he could say to me, no, it's going to take 2 years. I think I would have picked them up then, had someone else do them rather than wait a year.
At Coalition Support Services, we spoke with the instructor and reupholsterer, Pat Boudreau. If it was going to take a year or more to do them, why wouldn't he have been told that before he sent them over to be repaired?
Well, he was told it's a training program.
Yes, but he wasn't told it was going to take a year. He was told it was going to take 6 months.
He never
or
asked.
6 weeks.
He never asked.
Okay, he says he was told 6 weeks.
Well, it wouldn't have been by me. It would have been by the person who was here before me.
Uh-huh. Okay, so you're not responsible for what he was told before?
No.
Okay, when you take chairs from people now, do you tell them it could take a year to get this done?
So some things. Depends what's wrong with them.
So we went to look at the chairs. A good deal of work had already been done on them, but they had yet to be reupholstered. Robert says he's learned his lesson.
I hope anybody that's watching sort of learns from it. Just remember that you don't get nothing for nothing, basically. And that was basically, I had a good price, but I paid the price too.
So he's got his chairs back.
Well, the coalition did agree to give him his chairs free of charge, actually, this afternoon, Nancy. They say that they have several $100s worth of work into them already, but they were going to give them to him free of charge, and they were going to deliver them to wherever he wanted them delivered as well. And he's contacted a reupholsterer, and they've agreed upon a price, and he's been promised he'll have his chairs back in 10 days' time.
All right. What sort of advice would you give people who are interested in having a training center like this do work like this?
Well, as Mr. Boudreau said, it is a training center, so you have to be aware that, number one, perhaps when you get your chairs back, and I'm not speaking specifically about the coalition, but any center like that, if it is a training center, people are training while they're doing the work, so the work may not be as you expect, and also it may not be done in the time frame as you expect. Talking specifically about the coalition, what Mr. Boudreau was explaining was that the people who come in there, some of them have alcohol problems, some have drug problems, and so they don't come on a regular basis. So if they start a project, they may not get it finished as scheduled because they simply weren't there, weren't able to show up, or didn't show up. So there are a lot of variables in there that you have to take into account. Now, clearly with Robert, you know, a year is too long, and he felt that way, and they as well agreed it was too long, considering he was told 6 weeks.
Obviously, you helped him get the chairs back. Was he happy about that?
Yes, he was. He wasn't prepared to wait any longer, not being certain of when they would come back. So he's completely satisfied now.
Okay, and he'll have something to sit on before long.
That's right.
All right. If you have a problem you think Yvonne could help you with, here's how to get in touch with her.
You can give us a call. The area code is 902. The number is 493-3404, and you can leave a brief message on the machine, or you can write Post Office Box 1653, Halifax, Nova Scotia. The postal code is B3J2Z4.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
ATV's Yvonne Colbert is on your side. Thanks, Yvonne. Here's Paul.
And straight ahead on Live at 5, the best and the worst, the last and the first. It's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. The Live at 5 plays of the week coming right up, so don't go away.
Don't get too involved. I mean, see, golf confuses intelligent people.
Who is he? Gorilla golfer, that's who. Not quite good enough to make it on the pros. His drives are still prodigious, and for 12 years, he's been earning his keep, touring links in a gorilla outfit. Hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? And that brings us to our regular Friday Tension Tonic. Put your feet up and enjoy the Atlantic Chrysler Dealers Plays of the Week and a red-hot edition. Now, we say that a lot, right? But this time, we've got the thermometer to prove it for you. 140-plus Fahrenheit on the turf in Philadelphia. Hey, folks, talk about your carpet burn, huh? Burning up the infield this week, Jody Reed of the Brewers with the superb play to get the twin Shane Mack at first. Bobby Bonilla doing duty at third base. Nice job on this bullet ricochet. From the sizzle to the snap, crackle, and pop one, Guzman with the high heat on Chuck. Oh, my Aiken Knobloch. Chuck stayed cool, didn't charge the mound. I guess he was too busy listening to the sound of the sea in his ears. As for anything fired Guzman's way, no problem. Look at that, caught in the air over to first for the double play. Here's Michael Jordan of the Birmingham Barons making life simple for this minor league hurler. Here's another pitcher, but I'll tell you, he's working a little harder for the out here. Mark Gardner of the Florida Marlins. Nice grab, Mark. And doing it all himself on the offense side of things, Rusty Greer of the Texas Rangers with a quickly falling blooper for a blooper duo, Rob Butler and Darnell Coles of the Jays. It's rolling towards the wall. Rusty, he's shaking it all off, getting to home plate. Folks, that's an inside-the-park home run. The Jays, however, would still win this ball game. I don't know how, but they did. In sharp contrast to the everyday players, those relief pitchers, they've got the life, don't they? Needs more than a pencil to keep track of his 7-figure salary, and that is the taste of money. Peace, star Tim Raines. Listen to this shot,
at
folks.
the 12th. Well,
You'd be smiling after a shot like that, too. Nice one, Gary Player. And here's a shot for you. Amateur video the other night taken at the grand opening of a restaurant in Kissimmee, Florida, shows the entertainment Adolfo lose his grip and plunge 25 feet. Oh, waiter, there's a trapeze artist in my soup here. Adolfo was okay. In Houston, before we go there, you know, Victor Petrenko, you think he likes doing the professional thing? Get down, go Victor, go Victor. All right, here we go to Houston, folks. And this is Bruce Matthews, is everything, what he does every year. The offensive lineman gives him a funky haircut. What do you think of that, huh? These folks were not the only ones having bad hair days. Watch the right of your screen as we begin the disaster reel. Julie Crone, just back from a 9-month layoff with a broken leg, back in the dirt, courtesy a horse called Doubtful Debt. Don't worry, Julie was uninjured on this one. There she goes, right there. Courtesy our Riverglade Speedway watcher, Paul Sonia of Dieppe, these moments in sportsman class racing, the maritime scene just keeps rolling along. With or without drivers, frames, engines, or any other, as long as you get a wheel, you can keep on rolling. These guys never get tired of bodywork. Steve Rogers, Tim Rogers, and Ken Crosswaite into the wall. Oh, man, what damage there, huh? Are these guys just trying to do the track a favor here and scrape all of the old paint off the wall? That could be it. Maybe they're just thinking of the track. Moving away from the Maritimes, Toronto Indy, Brian Herta, the most unfortunate tangle with the wall in qualifying. Front end of the car collapsed. He did have some minor fractures, but he will be okay. Now I'm going to give you the wildest crash of the week. This one resulted in no injury whatsoever. We're in the bizarre midget car racing class. Enjoy this ride, folks. You're the driver. Yeah, right. The camera's gone, and so is the car. The throttle's stuck on that sucker. Here it is, the full replay. Lost the throttle. It just kept on going. He was hitting the brakes as hard as he could. They've got these superior designed roll cages in this sport, okay? The driver's okay. The roll cage held him in there okay, but this is just an incredible wild ride on the concrete side. I'll tell you, man, I don't know. These guys are just pushing the envelope. They're crazy. They can have that midget car racing. After a ride like that, of course, the first thing you want to do is get into the ring with Robert Lipsy, right? Forget it, man. Robert, I'm going down. Let me go home. It's over for me. What you really want to do is take a nice gentle slide into something cool and tasty. Hey, it's Friday, so do it. We're handing over to control to the guy here with the pom-poms. He's in charge for the weekend, but we'll be back Monday with the plays of the weekend.
All right, not bad. I can't believe that car crash.
Those guys, and then there's the other midget kind of car where they've got the effects, you know, all the wind baffles and everything on them, and they go flying through the air, and I don't know why they subject themselves to that.
They don't really value life, do they?
Because it's not like there's a lot of money in that sport yet. As long as we keep pumping it away on the plays of the week.
They just want to be on the plays of the week. I think that's it. That's why they do what they do. The all-important weekend wake-up weather is just ahead, along with ATV's Friday night primetime lineup.
Oh, and a new weapon in the war between smokers and non-smokers. We'll try it on for size when Live at 5 returns.
Okay. Do the whole bit, the ashtray.
All right. And the ashtray.
Hello. Little monkey business here for you, folks. It seems a Sri Lanka cat has befriended a local monkey. The couple shares the same home. And, of course, they monkey around quite a bit, as you can imagine. They're rarely apart, often hanging out together. And as you can see by these pictures, we mean that quite literally.
Look at them go. Do you think the cat has any choice in this? He's got a pretty good home.
Okay, well, I think we better move on to our next story here. We got an invention here that could help smokers and non-smokers become chummy. Let's roll that videotape for you.
And the ashtray. And you've seen, or have you seen the telephone? You can
A California man has produced this unique gadget. It works two ways. For smokers, the helmet pulls smoke up through filters so it won't bother other people. Or smoke-sensitive people can wear it using a reversible fan, which filters the air. The hat can be plugged in or run on batteries. The price for that one is $79.95.
Unfortunately, it's not available in Canada yet, and we couldn't find out when it might be. So that's just on the West Coast.
Anyway, you definitely want some kind of a filtration device for the air in your home tonight, whether it's an air conditioner or a dehumidifier, I think would be nice at this point, or a great big fan, because it looks like another muggy night ahead. As for the first day of the weekend, well, officially this is it, but I guess most people think of it as Saturday morning. Here's Steve Weagle with the wake-up weather for us. Steve?
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, a big swimming pool would be the best. It's going to be hot and muggy this weekend.